I'm going to look at the body measurement data again, and I'm going to use this data to look at normality. So the easiest way of looking at normality is just to create a histogram and to visually inspect it to see if it's normally distributed. So there's two ways of doing a histogram. You can go to Descriptive Statistics and Explore. I'm just going to do this for a single variable, which is going to be for, well, actually I'm going to do it for two. I'm going to do it for head and thigh size. So if I go to plots and if I click on histogram, and I can leave that together and go OK. So I'll get a histogram for thigh size. There's a bit of a gap, but it looks generally normally distributed. And this is histogram for head size. Here, because n is quite small, it doesn't look perfectly normally distributed, although the box plot is more convincing. The median is absolutely in the centre of the interquartile range, compared to for the thigh one, where the median is not in the centre because of these unusual values. So normality is a bit tricky to look at in just on the histogram for small sets of data. So if I double click on it, I can put a distribution curve over it. So that's putting the normal distribution curve over the set of data. Now, do I think that is convincingly normally distributed? It seems reasonable. And if I had a larger set of data, that's become much clearer. So actually, let's open another set of data. So let's open the expanded student data, the expanded student height data. This is a good data set because it contains a lot of student heights, over 600. So if I go to Analyze and do Descriptive, put in height as the dependent variable. I want to do the histogram, not the stem and leaf, and I just want to display the plot. I go OK. This is a much more convincing normal distribution, although there are outliers, which are very clear when you look at the box plot. Now, apart from doing it through the Explore function, what I could have done is go to Chart Builder. It always puts up this dialog, so I'm going to don't show this dialog again. This is to check that you've defined your categorical variables correctly, because if you don't, then you could end up doing the wrong plot of the wrong kind of thing. So what I want to do is a histogram. So I click, so here is the Chart Builder wizard. So here you can choose what kind of charts you're doing. So I want to do a histogram. It's just a regular histogram. I've just got a single plot. So I want to do height, because that's the data set that's open at the minute. So height goes along the x-axis. What it will then do is put histogram, so this means it's going to count the frequency. So it's a simple histogram of whatever it is you want to measure. Press OK, and I get exactly the same histogram as I got before. In this case, it's just got a bit of a scaling difference. Now what I could do, and you could see from that graph menu, so there are more complicated types of histogram that you could do. So there's this nice one here, which allows you to do what's called a population pyramid, to compare two things to one another. So you could do that if you were going to split based on gender. Problem is with this data set I've got 3 genders, so if I actually do it, it will fail. But you do these kind of histograms, so what you get is a histogram on the left and a histogram on the right, which you can compare to each other. So it's called a population pyramid count because it's done between the 2 genders and comparing ages to each other. That's the standard usage for this particular plot. I go back to my measurement data, go back to these, and I go to Graphs, Chart Builder. So I go down to histogram, drop my histogram. So I want to do a histogram of head size. So head goes into the x-axis, press OK. Then in my output I get the histogram of head size that you saw before. It's changed slightly the scale of it. What might sometimes happen is they change the bins. So this is the ranges which you count the frequencies in. Different programs will give you different bin widths, and that's why histograms will look different between different programs and different analysis. That doesn't mean that one is right or one is wrong. You have to pick your ranges where you're counting your data which fit with the data that you've got, based on how many data points you've got and how much spread you've got.